Hello. I am procrastinating filming my top reads of 2025 video, so I'm here to instead talk to you about books I want to read that are on my to-read list and maybe a few priorities for 2026. I'm gonna take you through my story graph, which is very exciting, but also I have never done a video like this, so I don't know how it's gonna end up. Don't mind the bad lighting and bad hair. I just feel like doing this. So I'm gonna try, and there are a couple tags I've been tagged in that kind of feel like they're in the theme of like how I choose what I want to read. So I'm gonna come back and film those later. Maybe this will be a bit chaotic and a bit long, but I don't know. Hopefully it'll be fun. I don't know. Let's see how we go. This is my profile. My current reading, we're just gonna move past that. But basically I have my to read list. I've thought about how to use my to read pile, and I kind of like the idea of just adding any book that's kind of sounds interesting, and it not being like a prescriptive thing of I want to read every single book on this list, but more like these are all books that are interesting that I could read. But that would make it really long. So I think what I do with my list is like I don't think I will necessarily get to every book on the list, but they are all ones that I quite actively want to read. I think being around 150 to 200 is like a good number because it's not like so overwhelming. And as we're gonna see, I think I get through a bunch of my like books on my to read list, but I still get lots of flexibility to pick up other things. So I feel like it's staying pretty consistent. And I don't buy many books new, so like my physical library doesn't get overwhelming. I do track my owned books quite consistently, but I don't always put an owned book on my to read list, even if I haven't read it, because it's not a super active priority. But the one that's probably the most important for this video is my top of my TBR list. And so these are like the priorities that I actually like really want to get to and want to get to soon. So because start off by going through my current top of my TBR, I read 6 books from the top of my TBR, which were my priorities. Yeah, The Namesake, Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Sunrise and the Reaping, Fundamentally, Sand Talk, and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I'm quite happy with these. Yeah, Half a Soul, this one is random because I think I've been on my little hunt for romance that I do fuck with, because a lot of romance I read I don't love. And something about this book just feels like it could be it. Let's take Sunrise and the Reaping off. Homegoing I still really want to read. It's been on my list for so long and so like highly spoken of. There is also like a literary book that I really want to read. I actually feel like there are a couple kind of literary heavy hitters, or like I guess maybe like 5-star prediction type of books that I've heard so much about, and I was thinking about like maybe reading a few all together and doing like a vlog about it. So yeah, I think I could read these next year. This year. Less is more. I am really interested in reading this book, but I don't know if it's like a top priority for me. It's in the world of economics, which I don't really understand very well, so I feel like I should read about it. Final Empire, I just borrowed the library books, so that is happening this year. Oh yeah, this one is definitely gonna stay high on my TBR. It's by, I'm pretty sure, a Bengali author. So I think that is what Bangladeshi. Goddess Complex I also do really want to read. Goddess Complex and Fundamentally were like the 2 books that I heard about from last year that were like the new releases I really wanted to read, but I was a little bit let down by Fundamentally, and I really hope I'm not let down by Goddess Complex. I might buddy read it with Kat from, oh my god, I'm forgetting her channel name, but I'll include it. This one is another South Asian. I have quite a few like South Asian books top of my TBR, and I think this one kind of talks about class, which was the main thing that was interesting me. Son of Sin I did recently buy, and Omar Sakar is like someone whose poetry I really want to read. I'm gonna take this off my top of my TBR because I would prefer to get to the poetry first. Palace of Illusions. I think this was when I was first trying to find more South Asian recommendations, and so because this is like a fantasy retelling, I was like, perfect, that's what I want. However, it is a retelling of one of the like the Mahabharata, like this Hindu kind of mythology. And I actually don't think I'm that interested in that. Like, I am interested in it. It's still on my to-read list. But it's not... It doesn't feel like a priority for me. Last Night at the Telegraph Club. This one sounds really fun to me. I do kind of like historical 1950s. Yeah, I think that would be fun. And it's queer. And I've heard good things about it. That's the other literary book that I was interested in. It covers like a few different perspectives in India. This has got to stay in my high priorities list. I love Becky Chambers and I love this series, and I need to read it. History of Bangladesh, I actually did also finish this. I technically finished it in 2026, so it didn't show up, but I'm going to count it as one of my like the ones I did in 2025. So that's 7 books I read from this list in 2025. The Devourers, again, a South Asian book. Oh, it's set in Kolkata. I guess that's why I want to read it. That's where my family lives. Horror also is not usually my thing, but I'm very curious about this. We'll come back to it later. This is a maybe. Binti, I do really want to read, and that's been on my list for a long time. And there is a movie or TV show adaptation. So I think this is going to stay a priority. My Seditious Heart, it's a really long collection. But I do want to read Arundhati Roy's nonfiction. But now she has her, like, memoir out. So I have to decide if I'm going to read that. I think I will. It's like a hot topic, you know. I feel like I should read it while it's relevant. Sister Outsider, I think I could get to this year because now I own it. This one is interesting. I added it to my list like years ago. So I don't really know if it's still relevant and that interesting. But I think the author must be Australian or has lived in Melbourne and Naarm for a little bit. So I think that was a reason I really wanted to try it. River Solomon, I really want to try reading. I think I have a few of their books on my to-read list, but this is just one. I think it's a stand-in. Like, I would be happy if I read any River Solomon book. So we're beginning this video with 23 books on my to-read list. And there were 2 maybes in there that I might get rid of. Let's go back to my full TBR. Where did I hear about this book? I think it might have been an article I read actually, but it seems to be like a good maybe introduction or kind of overview style. How regions and the world have been made in modern times. So like not taking it for granted that the Middle East is or the Persian Gulf exists as like this entity that's easily defined. Probably appeals to me because that's how I look at India. It's like this weird conception of so many different cultures. And anyway, if anyone has other books that are kind of overview style of this region, I would be interested. But for now, that's one that I've got. Yeah, Chumpa Lahiri. I almost started reading this collection, but I'll come back to it when I feel like it. Hospicing Modernity. I really want to read this, and this is definitely going on the top of my TBR because some of my friends and comrades who I like organize with have been talking about it and saying that it was really intense. Apparently it's a very confronting book, but I think in a really necessary way. And like the overall vibes I'm getting is that we have to be ready for like human society as we know it to change and modernity to kind of die, and that actually that maybe is a good thing. I'm not going to read it all out, but like looking at this synopsis or description, I'm like, yeah let's go. And I think she might be indigenous, but I don't quote me on that. Ursula Le Guin I still haven't read. I would like it to be soon, but I will be okay if it isn't soon. Oh yeah, Emily St. John Mandel wrote Station 11, which was a favorite when I read it in high school. I'm just gonna add some of my like tags because I have this like Towards a Better World, kind of a cheesy title, but basically all the books I have about like politics and social movements, because I guess it grounds me in why do I read about politics. Like, I don't really read it out of like a neutral interest. I usually read it very actively. But yeah, I feel like I could do a lot more reading about the Black Panthers, and especially because I have read a lot of books about non-violent social movements, which I could do a whole discussion of, but that aligns a lot with my theory of change. But I do still want to like read about like different strategies and stuff like that. This is fun because I like Oscar Wilde. I have never read his books, but I watched a play of The Importance of Being Earnest. I liked it. And I haven't been that interested in reading classics in general, including Oscar Wilde, but this is like an uncensored version that brings in a lot more explicitly queer stuff. This is a book that I think I like don't remember much about, and it kind of makes me think it might not be a priority. I just don't get that many recommendations set in Aotearoa or Australia, so I get a little excited when I get them. So I'll keep it on the list for now. I think I had about The Dawn of Everything from Cat at the Cat Bite. The last book I've read that seems in this vein is Guns, Gems and Steel, which I know I like is kind of problematic, and there's like a lot of stuff around that book. It's been interesting reading a lot of First Nations writing about the development of like civilization, and I think I am probably a bit more interested in that perspective. Like, I read something from Bruce Pascoe, who's like a historian and writer. There is so much interesting stuff historically or from like an anthropology sort of view about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander societies, and how they lived for so long with so many different nations. Understanding how those kinds of societies function and take care of themselves and how that is sustainable compared to the ideas of like modern civilizations that developed in other parts of the world, and why they have maybe led to human downfall, or like they've led to these great civilizations and modernity, but we're still on the road towards our own downfall, you know what I mean? So yes, the kind of similar themes in a way into like hospicing modernity. So this book I think is also maybe touching on some of those questions, but I don't know enough about these two guys and their perspective. I guess they're coming from a Western perspective, obviously. I don't know how this video is going to go because I will talk about these books endlessly, so I need to stop doing that. Annihilation of Caste is staying on my list. Actually, this is going to go to the top of my TBR because this is like such a key book in understanding caste in South Asia, the caste system. Warra Warra Wai is like a history of colonization and like the first fleet landing in Australia from the perspective of Aboriginal people. It's kind of like an inversing of the perspective that is usually shared. In Peace and Freedom, again, like not top of my TBR. Bernard Lafayette was involved in the civil rights movement alongside Martin Luther King Jr., obviously. And he developed a lot of the like ideology and a lot of trainings around Kingian nonviolence. So that was mentioned in a book that I really love called Healing Resistance, and I kind of wanted more of the historical perspective and the kind of sort of original teachings. We're getting into a few of my owned books. Home Fire, bought forever ago in high school, still interested in reading it. Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. Can't remember much about it, but it's set in Sri Lanka and it has a beautiful cover and I own it. Toni Morrison. I think Toni Morrison is on the top of my TBR list, but I don't know which one I should read first. If anyone has strong opinions, please let me know. Translations is really cool. It's Australian. It's set in rural New South Wales, and it seems very like character focused and relationships within community. me and my friend Manjot want to read it. You've probably noticed this little tag, which is books that we're both interested in, and I think it would be great to read it with her. It's because she grew up in regional New South Wales. I think just having a brown story set in rural New South Wales, like, I feel like it doesn't happen very much. This is another book about caste. Autocracy Inc. Ooh, I actually had a negative review of this book recently, which makes me want to take it off my to-read list. Like, I still would be potentially interested in it, but the review I heard was just that it is like not a lot of new or in-depth information. It's just kind of about geopolitics of particularly like authoritarian states. I think the other thing was that it was kind of pro-America, or like the American world order, which this description is really giving me. I think if you're going to like have a critical look at the systems that hold up the kind of so-called communist states, but you're not going to talk about the systems and like oligarchy that keeps up the Western world, I'm like very one-sided. I'm not like anti this book, but I feel skeptical from that review. As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow was a recommendation from Yara at Array of Reading. Language of Limbs is set in Sydney and is queer, and again Manjot has recently read it and loved it, so I'm keen for this. I also do have this at my library if I want to listen to the audiobook, so that would be really cool. If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English, I've heard really good things about, following revolution and the aftermath of revolution through these like characters and like everyday people. This seems really interesting in the sense of like solidarities in the diaspora. Obviously I'm not in America, but I think there might be parallels in terms of Aboriginal Australia and like race politics here, so I'm interested in what this perspective would be like. This one's so random because it's like old school mystery vibes, but also romance and also Christmas, none of which are categories that I feel drawn to, but I can't remember who recommended it. The way they described it just sold me. I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. So one day, if I want to read a Christmas book for some reason, I guess I can read this. I don't know, I was like, I will never remember the title of this book if I don't put it on my list, so yeah, it's a bit of a silly one. Anna Marie McLemore, I heard so much about when I first was on BookTube, and I think I took most of her books off my to-read list. I think she has a lot of queer ones and a lot of like retellings. I feel very drawn to fairy tale retellings, or I have in the past. I don't know if it's something I still enjoy, but like high school me really loves a retelling. So I still feel like I need to try. One of the books in my library has this one. Tagore is someone I'm still very interested in. I mean, he's like a massive figure for Bengalis, like he's politically and culturally, and he like started a school, so he has a big focus on education. So I just have to actually read stuff that he's written. I don't know anything he's written. I only know the songs. Undoing Drugs, I'm very interested in. I think I'm very interested in like learning more about drug use and harm reduction, but also like kind of like first response and like de-escalation, and like I think those are skills that we actually like should be teaching in the same way you think about first aid, where it's like the more people in society have this skill set and like practice it, the better like we can keep each other safe without especially relying on police. So I think that feels very important to me, to like learn as a skill set, like learn more about the support systems that exist in my city. This book is more of like a history and theoretical introduction. This is a memoir about complex trauma, and it's by an Asian person. So without going too deep, I feel like things will hit and I've had at least one friend who enjoyed it, so I'll try reading this. Africa's Not a Country, another good like regional introduction, considering I know very little about African politics and culture or any of it. I love reading stuff that has a focus on the cultural side. Like I love learning about the kind of culture and history. And I think this book does it. Yeah, and it was a recommendation from Florence at the One More Book podcast. Jade City, I mean, if you read fantasy, like, I've heard so much about it. Be More Pirate. This one was interesting. I think I heard about this from Lena Norms, and I don't really know where it would sit with my current politics. This is really funny. Wow, actually, the way this has aged, comparing the pirates to modern rebels like Elon Musk, fuck, man. I mean, it's published in 2018. That's not that old. Yeah, I mean, I'm still very intrigued by this book, but it's not a top priority for me either. Notes of a Native Son, really want to read because I loved James Baldwin's like 2 essays that I read, The Fire Next Time. And obviously I have to read his fiction as well, so that could go on the top of my TBR as well. But I'm not going to. Amitabh Ghosh I read recently, and I'm interested in more of his writing, and this one is set in the Sundarbans, which is a region in Bengal that I'm very interested in, so I'm keen to read that. Haha, polysecure. I've heard really good things about this from friends, and I'm interested in polyamory. The Color Purple feels like another classic that I'd love to read, but also not a top priority. The Revolution Will Not Be Funded, I've heard about for so long, so I need to read it one day. I don't read many graphic novels, and this is one that has somehow like stayed with me. This to read list has been building since I was in high school. Like, I think I took this list from Goodreads and I did a complete refresh when I added it to Storygraph. I just don't read graphic novels that much. They don't really work for me that well. I'm not a very visual person. This is a like historical book about a real person, a queen in India, and I think I heard about the queen in a history book I was reading. Children of Gods and Fighting Men. I don't remember where I was recommended this. Again, it's just like a fantasy that feels like the vibe I might enjoy, and my library has it. It's based on Irish mythology, which I don't know that much about, so I'm interested. Marriage of a Thousand Lies. Oh my god, this is a lavender marriage story, and it's South Asian. Yeah, I want to read that. That's fun. The transgender issue seems like really good trans politics, and I own the ebook. Very interested in the Murderbot Diaries, and I feel like I could prioritize that one soon because my library has them and they're really short. Octavia E. Butler. I know everyone's talking about Parable of the Sower. I think I have mixed feelings about sci-fi, but I guess I'll have to read it and find out. Terra Nullius. This is like a classic, little classic, but it's a really like popular or significant book in Australia. I want to take this off my to read list, but I do have my library has this and it's very accessible, so I don't think I'm going to forget that it exists, and so I still might try it, but I don't think it's an active priority. I actually don't think I like dystopians that are set in the near future. We'll see, I might contradict that with some of the other books I want to read. I've heard that this book talks about schizophrenia quite well, and I have a friend who like maybe I think had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, or like I don't know, there was like a few different things, and I do still feel like I would like to understand more, and I would rather read a personal perspective than just like a kind of medical perspective. The Woman Who Married Buddha. I didn't even realize this. I actually feel less interested based on that synopsis. Not that I wouldn't want to read it, but I'm just not going to seek it out, and not as a priority. Kaikei and Vaishnavi Patel I definitely need to read. I actually think I'm slightly more interested in her other book, Goddess of the River, because it is about Ganga, Goddess of the River. I'm going to take this one off the to read list, not because I don't want to read it, but because I think I can have just one Vaishnavi Patel book in the list, and I'm interested in reading either of them, so whatever I get my hands on. But if I had to prioritize, it would be Goddess of the River. The Jakarta Method, I really want to read. My friend borrowed it from me recently and said it was really good. It's history. Oh, I do have another Toni Morrison, and I actually think this is the one that I want to read. Another Amitav Ghosh. If I continue liking his work, I will keep reading his work. Here's another Jhumpa Lahiri that I'm really interested in. So one of the characters joins the Naxalite movement, which is like the Maoist kind of insurgency in Bengal. So I'm really interested in learning about Naxalite movement, you know, historically, but also like kind of ongoingly. City of Brass was one of those like fantasy books that is talked about for ages, booktube classic. Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows sounds like a really funny, silly kind of book, and I found it at an op shop, so I own this, which is very exciting. A Grain of Wheat was another one I heard about from Florence. I think it's a classic. It's translated by a Kenyan author. So yeah, that will be really interesting. I also don't know that much about Nepal, and I haven't read many Nepali authors. Maybe I heard about it from Cat of the Cat Bite, because she has a reading books around the world. Adrienne Marie Brown, I've listened to a lot of her podcasts. She's got a few books that are really popular in like my circles of people who follow politics or like do organizing. Here is a fantasy book that I know nothing about, but it's not sparking anything from what I'm reading. So I actually think I will get rid of it from my to-read list. I'm just having a look at reviews, and it actually does seem interesting, particularly the like different cultures meeting and the like gender and sexuality kind of stuff. So I don't think it's not interesting, but I also don't think it is enough of that it would make a like priority for me. I guess the point of going through this list is if you have had anything particular about any of these books, please let me know, because I could add them back. I could definitely add them back if I was convinced. I'm open. Ooh, Grease Paint I remember finding really interesting because it is historical, learning about historical queers and queer communities. Like, I love it. I love it. I love seeing like what's changed, but also what is the same, how much more of a focus there is on community. And because like you didn't have the technology to like be online, it's just different. Community was different before we all got online. God damn. I yearn for it. Like I really yearn for it. Anyway, I'm interested in that book. Half a Soul, Theme Park of Women's Bodies. I think there's going to be a lot of books here that I take off my to-read list because they're not calling to me. That doesn't mean I don't want to read them or think they're interesting, but I think it's just like what am I interested in at this point in my life? What am I feeling drawn to? And I think this is a short story collection, and kind of like feminist themes. Health Communism was a recommendation from Sunny Booknook. Tyson Yunko Porter wrote Sand Talk, and loved that, so I'm really excited to read the rest of his writing. This one I think is set in a coal mine or like a coal mining town. This one also doesn't feel like a top priority necessarily. I'm hesitantly keeping it in my list. Doppelganger, again, I just need to read some Naomi Klein and heard a lot of good things about this. Yanis Varoufakis, I want to know whether it is well written and accessible, because then it would be great to have as like a recommendation about capitalism, or like an intro into why capitalism is bad. I think I'm like less interested in reading this personally, but I want to read it to know whether I would recommend it, if that makes sense. The Ghost Ship, this I do feel drawn to. I think I like boat stories, pirate stories, that vibe. I like that vibe. After reading The Sea of Poppies, like a historical ship vibe, adventure, great, give it to me. This is kind of interesting. It's like it's about this like uncovered history of South Asians in Australia. We've got another queer historical kind of book, and this one's a mystery, definitely intrigued. We've got a fantasy book by a Native American author, but I don't know if I'll enjoy it. It has pretty good reviews, so I'm gonna keep it on the list. The Bandit Queens. I really want to read this. This woman whose husband dies, and people think that she killed her husband, and I think probably that's not true, but other women in the village start coming to her wanting help to kill their husbands. So it seems like it would be quite interesting and funny, but also to have some darker elements maybe as well. Rules for Revolutionaries. This is kind of based on Bernie Sanders' campaign and like door knocking and stuff. I'm not convinced about this book anymore. I think there are better books about politics that I could read. Ooh, this is also we're going into some niche books about organizing now, and this one I've read. I've like watched some of her presentations on her research. It is really interesting theory about what motivates people to like join a group or volunteer for a group or like, you know, all those kinds of things. But I don't think I'm going to read this book. I think I will keep like seeking out her like videos where she talks about it. Jane McAlevey is a union organizer, and I have read one of her books, and I actually think I read No Shortcuts, but I don't remember it exactly, and I did a training based on her organizing kind of theories as well. I don't remember what this is. I'm sure that this is interesting, but I don't recall anyone I know recommending it, so I'm going to remove it. Saul Alinsky and his like theories and this book is very influential in a lot of organizing that I've been involved with, and my housemate owns a copy of this, but I don't like want to read it. I'm curious, but I don't want to read it. Melissa Lukashenko, I really want to read, is an Aboriginal Australian author and like very well known. This is another recommendation from Books on My Social Life. That's his name. I've forgotten his actual name. It's set in Trinidad, and it's looking at race, gender, class, sexuality. I'm keen, I'm open. I think I feel a lot of trust about his recommendations. Not that I've necessarily read many of them. Pink Mountain on Locust Island. I own this book, and it is set in Narm in Melbourne, in Chinatown, and yeah, seems interesting. I don't know if I will like this book, but the fact that I found it in an op shop and it's a really cool cover, I'm like, hell yeah, let me try it. Maya Angelou, I am interested in reading some of her work, but I don't think it's a top priority for me. Roisin Hamid wrote Exit West, which was a favorite book of mine, and when I reread it, I enjoyed it a little bit less. But this is actually his other most famous book. I think I tried reading like the first couple pages of this, and I was like, oh, this wasn't what I was expecting, and I didn't love it. So I don't think this is on my to-read list anymore. We Are the Weather is a climate-related one from Lena Norms. I think it's not going to be on my to-read list. I think it's going to stay as a book that I can borrow from the library. I have to-read lists on my library audio apps, so I think for me, I'm like, I'm not going to lose this book. I might still borrow it, but it's not on my like active to-read list. Capitalist realism, I've wanted to read for a long time. When I was first learning about politics, everyone talks about it. Shani Mutu is the same author who we saw earlier. I also don't think I need two books by this author, but let's remove this from my to-read list. Huey Newton and Lennon. Look, I'm not a huge theory bro, but this one interested me because, I mean, our cat is called Lux, and she is named after Rosa Luxemburg. I don't know that much about Rosa Luxemburg, but Abby really likes her and finds her interesting. So yes, the Lennon and Luxemburg kind of theory stuff, and then obviously Huey Newton is part of Black Panthers. There's just like two areas of history and politics that I am interested in. Feminism for the 99%. I feel like I might have heard mixed things about this. I like the political ideas they're talking about. Feminism must be anti-capitalist, eco-socialist, and anti-racist. I'm like, cool, I'm there, that's what I'm interested in. This could be another book that I read to give us a recommendation and an introduction more than it is for my personal learning and growth. The House of Impossible Beauties. We've got another historical queer book that's based on the ball scene. Becky Chambers, I feel like I'm letting you down by not reading your new books. A fantasy book that I don't remember anything about. Not fantasy, it's science fiction. I don't remember why this excited me that much, so I'm gonna get rid of it for now. This one, I also don't remember exactly what interested me, but I remember feeling much more drawn to it for a reason. I think this is meant to have really good politics. Or like the political intrigue. This one's also not calling to me, but I just feel like I've heard more good things about it, so it's staying on my list. I'm like, that's not fair. You know what? This isn't on my active to read list, but my library has the audiobook. The Precariat. I feel like I've heard mixed things about this as well. But I think I'm still interested enough to read it and come to my own opinion. The like gig economy and like insecure work, casual work has changed the way the like working class or the proletariat sort of exists. My Europe rest and relaxation, actually, it doesn't interest me. I told you I'm not interested in memoirs, but there's something about the way this like synopsis is giving, but also if I'm being honest, it's not going to be a priority for me. So I think I actually need to remove it. I am open to being proven wrong. I just want to say that I think I have a lot of biases that I should fight. Oh, this is a political one that I don't remember how I heard about. I think this interests me because of the use of case studies and examples from every corner of the globe. But I haven't seen reviews to like vouch for that. As much as this is interesting and something around this topic would still interest me, this book is leaving the list. Do I remember anything about you? Jenna Bibliophile, who I miss. I miss their channel. I'm guessing that the author is Indigenous. I do like reading fantasies and stuff that are like inspired by cultures that I don't know that much about, or mythology I don't know much about, so I'm open to reading this. We're getting into books that I heard about a long time ago, from booktube mostly, and this is one of those that like I don't think I would ever put on my to read list on my own or like think that it would be good for me, but I'm pretty sure Lena Norms recommended it. It sounds really interesting actually, like the concept of this book being a collection of photos. Factfulness, oh, I'm not interested in this book anymore. Sorry, I actually own it, so I might read it one day. Look, I know I should give poetry its fair chance. I have enjoyed poetry, but I never read poetry. Never ever. So I think this is unrealistic to keep on my to-read list. Vivek Shraya, I really like as it's like a person and like an internet personality. Because I listened to I'm Afraid of Men and I liked it. And I just really want to read more of her stuff. And I think this book I'm like actually not that interested in. What am I saying? Then I should take it off the list. I feel like I remember hearing about this book when it came out, but I don't think I feel called to reading it right now. I really should read some Elif Shafak. I think that this is fairy tale retellings. I really need to speedrun the rest of this. The accusation. This is interesting. I mean, it's fiction, but I think maybe it is written by someone from North Korea. Lies of Lachlan Mora is a fantasy book that I've heard good things about. Sometimes it's a vibe, you know? I'm sure there are like tropes or parts of the description that drew me in, but I don't remember what it is. I couldn't tell you specifically. I'm just like, yeah, this fantasy book for some reason interests me particularly. Okay, poetry. We're removing it, sorry. This is a short story collection, I think. It's a period that I find very interesting, and I could be very interested in fiction accounts of this time period. I'm sure that when I got recommended this, I was like, this is so cool. I barely ever see South Asian recommendations on BookTube. But I guess like now looking back, I'm like, I don't really know why I would want to read this one in particular when like there's probably others I've also like heard about or could find out about if I was looking for recommendations about partition from South Asian people recommending it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna take this off this list right now. River Solomon makes another appearance, but I will let River Solomon have 2 spots because I really want to read their books. The Bell Jar. I'm interested in reading it, but it's not on my active to read list, actually. Speaking of poetry, Sylvia Plath is poetry that I haven't genuinely enjoyed because we studied her for literature. Anyway, this is a queer book. Okay, this actually is interesting. And again, with the like 20th century queer scene, this is hesitantly gonna stay. Maxine Beneva Clark, she's also quite well regarded Australian author. Oh, I read one of her books. I don't remember this. It was in high school. It feels like a book I should read. It's another one of those classics that I'm like, I don't feel drawn to it right now, but I feel like I should read it. I've got another James Baldwin. I think I might take this one off since I already have 2 of his books in my to read list. I've got a retelling that's queer. Not interested enough to keep it on my list. Again, I don't read graphic novels. I don't think I'm going to reach for manga. But I think this one's also an anime, which I would be open to watching. But I also don't watch much TV, so anyway, that's fine. Thriller, horror, not something I usually reach for, so I'm going to get rid of this one. I own this book. I don't remember much about it, but it's also widely acclaimed, so I'll read it. Children of Bone and Bone is one of those classic booktube recommendations that I don't know if I'll enjoy. It is young adult, but I think at this stage I need to give it a go. Is this also queer and South Asian? It sure is. I think this is a hesitant stay on the list. I'm not sure about it. The Witcher. I don't know, I think I had good reviews about both the TV show and the book, and I was like, yeah, I could try reading it. I don't think it is a priority for me though, so I don't think it's going to stay on this list, but it is like a fantasy series I'm interested in. Fantasy horror, I don't like being scared, unfortunately, so I've also heard good things about this book, but I think I can prioritize other things. 5th season, gotta read it, top of my TBR. It's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I don't remember how I heard about this book, but it's giving the type of literary book that I could enjoy. I think I'm gonna take it off for now, but I'm very open to adding it if I hear about it from someone else. I think if I like see it and recognize it, I would add it back. But right now I'm like, I don't remember. Fingersmith's here because I own it, and also not like a huge priority, but I'll keep it in the list because I own it. I remember this one being kind of like a unique sort of synopsis, and some booktuber recommended it. I'm sure it's interesting, but it's not drawing me in. I don't think I will super vibe with the politics of this author based on reading about the books he's released. Maybe I should give him a go. I'm open to giving him a go, but it's not on my active list. Another one of those like literary books that I might enjoy, but I don't feel drawn to it. I think I'm just being harsh because it's late and I'm tired now. Okay, I also own this book, but I'm so not interested in it anymore. I might even donate it. This was a fantasy book that I really wanted to try reading. Wow, some of these did not show up, I swear to God, when we looked through. But I really wanted to try this. I don't know what it is. I think it's a vibe thing. But it's queer and it's East Asian. I think Chinese inspired. I think I'm gonna keep it on the list, but I don't know if that is the top of my TBR. Nope, I have no idea what it's about and why I'm interested in reading it, but I do own it, so maybe I will read it one day. A retro historical one that's also queer and also fantasy. I'll keep it. Why not? Tin Man. Queer sad story. I have heard really good things about this. I don't feel drawn to it right now. I don't. But also still open to reading it. Fahrenheit 451. I don't know why this is a classic that made it into the list. I'm happy to read it, maybe one day. No. 49 Pilots, again, feminist short story collection, also horror. I don't need it. I don't need to read it. Little Fires Everywhere was talked about so much. Don't feel drawn to it anymore. Maybe one day I'll watch the TV show and read the book. This is a queer fairy tale retelling. Not a top priority for me anymore.